Mark, why don't you hit us with a recap of the events of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6, number 61. Does someone die in this issue? I guess we'll find out in a moment.
Do not spoil my recap, Dan. That's very unprofessional of you. Okay. Well, we open with some disorientation. It's a close-up image of a man's face and a bunch of random items falling from the sky. Yes, we are starting the story in media res with Spidey performing high-altitude acrobatics while fighting a villain and talking about respecting the small business hustle to an innocent bystander named Kevin. Said villain is trying to burn Spidey to a crisp and has named himself Burnout, or Sparky. It's Joe Kelly, so the patter is flying at a Merc-with-a-mouth pace. As the battle continues, readers flash over to Peter's various dysfunctional relationships, Randy, Shay, and Aunt May, the three wise men, I don't know. Spidey then punches Burnout, and he turns into a flock of firebirds. Is this his power or something else? It's unclear. Plus, Kevin makes an obscure Scott Pilgrim joke in 2024. That's a movie that came out in 2010. Don't change, Joe Kelly. Your work remains as inscrutable as ever. Suddenly, the appearance of the Sorcerer Supreme, nay, the new Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Doom, interrupts the narrative flow of this story as if attached by a rivet gun. Oh, Dan, you're adding my jokes into my recap, and I like it. Spidey drops off Kevin and chats with Doom, who says in his magnanimity, he has chosen Spidey for a mission. Spidey corrects Doom on his usage of magnanimity. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, so you can correct me, readers, listeners, in real time. Like I'm saying, what's her face from the Dan Slott run, Sajani. And then he calls Doom Timu Doctor Strange. I almost said Timo, so you can correct me on that too. And that makes Dr. Doom leave in a huff. At Aunt May's, she presses Peter on when will he get his life together. It's 955 issues and counting, May. It's not gonna happen, okay? Didn't you literally just come to peace with this at the end of the previous issue? Whatever. Then Randy and Shay enter, and the supporting cast is all in one room. I hope a bomb doesn't hit. Peter has photos for Randy and a Rick Jones album for Shay, but all of them were destroyed in the Burnout fight, and we have the Paul Jenkins Blueberry Pie rule in action. Go back and listen to that 11-year episode, folks. I'm not going to explain the Blueberry Pie rule.
Yeah, and that's in Superior Spider Talk 15, to be precise. This is Nattering Nick or Dan Gavaston here.
Ever the pedantic Dan. So now Spider-Man seeks refuge and advice from a reasonable place. The 10-year-old Spider-Boy. Spider-Boy recommends ice cream to Spidey, but who says no to ice cream? But they are interrupted by an attack on the city by Sintros. I thought maybe this was some mystical character that I was unfamiliar with, but indeed, this is his first appearance, so save your ASM 61s, folks. This one's going to put you through college once Sintros' left arm shows up in a Deadpool movie in 12 years. Sintros mentions the Covenant, the same thing Doom was haranguing Spidey about, and that sparks Spidey's interest. Spidey is losing the fight hard, so Doom reappears, asserting the job he wanted Spidey to do, which finally prompts him to accept Doom's task. We get some painted art and lots of exposition about the Darkhold, and Doctor Strange discovering the Crimson Casket of Cyttorak. It turns out that to protect the Earth, Strange bargained that someone had to best the 8 scions of Cyttorak. This is honestly making my brain hurt, Dan. That someone would be the Earth's champion against Cyttorak's scions. So naturally, Strange appointed himself and used the sacred reeds of Ragador to defeat death and win. Dan, this is really hurting me. Like, yada, yada, yada. Doom doesn't want to waste his time with these trials, so Spidey is going to have to do it now, what with his selflessness and all, and blah, 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 blah. So, as you've no doubt seen in previews and teases, Spidey gets some mystic armor and a nice red scarf. It goes back to fight Sintros, the first Scion. Along with the armor, Spidey's got some magic powers now, and uses them to stun Sintros and then punch the black hole in his mouth. But unfortunately, that means he has to die. And like anyone who has studied theoretical physics, Spidey undergoes spaghettification as he's sucked into the black hole, and it's apparently really, really painful. That brings us to Phil Coulson, and I have to remember that he's actually a comic book character now. And again, Coulson, the new owner of the Infinity Gem of Death, oh God, what is happening to Marvel, is now tasked with processing Spider-Man's death. But with Spidey in control of the rejuvenating reeds, he gets to quickly say bye to Coulson. Spider-Man is reborn in horrifying fashion, like a circulatory system walking through the kitchen. And that brings us to Doctor Strange, who appears in spectral form to let Spidey know, hey, you're okay, but you have to fight the rest of the Scions, and if you die 7 more times before succeeding, the Earth fails. And also, I'm not fighting the Scions again, even though I've done it all the other times, for plot reasons. ASM 61.